2 Bloomfield cops have now been indicted. A third quietly pleaded guilty to tampering and retired. It's all because of video the cops may have tried to hide.
Get out the car! Get out!
This is the Bloomfield Police Department's dash cam video that prosecutors say they never saw when they pursued criminal charges against 30-year-old Marcus Jeter. Notice his hands in the air. He was charged with eluding police, resisting arrest, and assault. And also notice who throws repeated punches. The tape not initially turned over is on the dash of a second police car that comes from the opposite direction, crosses the median into ongoing traffic, and then strikes Jeter's car. There is no mention of that in any police report.
Next thing I know, as he's coming around the car, the glass gets busted, and all the glass goes in my face.
Get out the car!
Your hands are up.
My hands are up. As soon as he opened the door, one of the officers reached in and just punched me in my face. As he's trying to take the seatbelt off, he's elbowed me in my jaw. And I'm like, ah, and he's like, stop trying to take my gun.
Don't go for my gun!
Stop resisting arrest. Stop trying to take my gun. And as he's saying that, I just knew, and I was thinking in the back of my mind, like, okay, this is gonna go wrong.
Get down! Stop resisting! Stop resisting! Why are you trying to take my gun? Get off my gun!
And right before when they opened the door about to put me in, the officer hits me in the back of the head again.
As soon as prosecutors saw this video, they dismissed all of the charges against Jeter. Interesting to note, an investigation by Bloomfield PD's scandal-plagued Internal Affairs Division had found no wrongdoing by police officers.
If we hadn't had the tapes in this particular case, an innocent man would be in jail today.
I'm sure that if this happened to me, it could happen to a bunch of other people.
We were there exclusively today in Essex County Court in Newark, where Bloomfield police officers Sean Corder, there on the left, and Orlando Trinidad, who you will see here on the right, were arraigned on charges including conspiracy, official misconduct, and falsifying reports. Trinidad is also charged with aggravated assault. They pleaded not guilty.
A Connecticut state trooper caught by his own dash camera stealing cash and jewelry off a dying motorcycle crash victim pleaded guilty on Wednesday. Superior Court Judge Robert Devlin charged 43-year-old Aaron Huntsman with 2 counts of felony, third-degree larceny, and tampering with evidence for a crime he committed in Fairfield on September 22, 2012. The 18-year veteran, who didn't realize his dashcam was recording, stole from the dying 49-year-old motorcycle victim, John Scalise. The crooked cop then stiffed the near-lifeless Scalise, stealing his $5,000 gold chain from a pool of blood and a $3,700 wad of cash from the former executive of JAS Masonry.
These 7 Baltimore City police officers arrested, charged with being hardcore criminals. The allegations range from stealing from innocent citizens to robbing drug dealers of cash and guns, some even of selling heroin.
These defendants allegedly were involved in stopping people who had not committed crimes and seizing their money, not only seizing their money, but pocketing it. So these are really simply robberies by people who are wearing police uniforms.
The alleged stealing from city residents was rampant, with amounts stolen ranging from $200 to $200,000. Prosecutors say the corruption included bogus search warrants, filing false police reports, and even putting in for thousands of dollars in overtime while on vacation.
These officers, they're 1930-style gangsters, as far as I'm concerned.
And authorities say there was a widespread cover-up, which involved coaching of each other to give false statements to Internal Affairs and turning off body cameras at key moments.
October 10, 2010.
911 emergency.
I have a 17-year-old son with Down syndrome who has severe behavior problems.
Seen in a white 98 Plymouth Voyager minivan.
Vehicles all over the roadway.
Dashcam video shows Jeremy Hutton stopping at the intersection of Royal Palm Beach and Okeechobee Boulevard in the van he took from his mom. Palm Beach County Sheriff's Deputy Jason Frankie pulls around. Hutton clips his cruiser. The deputy shoots.
Shots fired.
Jeremy Hutton was shot 3 times.
He was shot in the head, he was shot in the shoulder, and he was shot in the arm.
He lived. Now his attorney is working to prove what the deputy did was all wrong, and the system designed to hold officers accountable here is broken.
The van was stopped.
Hours later, he explains to investigators what happened.
I watched the driver, he turned the wheel, and he
just started coming at me.
Leaving the, quote, terrified deputy no choice.
Completely drew my firearm and started firing as he reached where I was.
Both PBSO and the state attorney's office justified the shooting.
And I was in fear he was going to hit me.
Case closed until...
I don't think anybody knew or anticipated that they were going to get caught by a traffic camera.
Because this traffic camera video, he says, shows an entirely different story.
But the traffic camera clearly shows that Jeremy Hutton not only was driving away from the deputy, but actually turned his vehicle as far to the left as possible to completely try to avoid hitting this deputy. So it's completely inconsistent with what was told by the deputy, and it's appalling.
The state attorney, which investigates to determine if an officer who shoots should face criminal charges for it, mentions the video in its final report.
Pictures don't lie.
But not what it shows.
So certainly there was no danger to this deputy.
Since 2000, the state attorney's office hasn't indicted a single deputy involved in a shooting.
It was a shocking police beatdown captured 3 years ago on dashboard cam in Bogota, New Jersey. 2 officers called by parents to assist their emotionally disturbed son into an ambulance instead tackled the man and punched him in the head. When Officer Regina Tasca intervened, prying the officers off the man, she was brought up on charges by her chief and eventually fired. The officers at the time even threatened the victim's father.
Get up in him, I'll get you.
In that moment, my son was jumped and punched. Had she not been there doing what she did to protect him, I can pretty much say with certainty that things would have turned out quite differently.
Tasca, the only female and gay officer on the Bogota force, had previously complained to her bosses she was being harassed by fellow officers. And during the departmental hearing to fire her, the attacking officer from neighboring Ridgefield Park Police admitted that he covered up punching the victim. He lied about his training in dealing with an emotionally disturbed person and violated protocol with the tackle and punch. He was not brought up on any charges at the time. And the campaign to smear Tasca on the Bogota force continued. Her own boss, Captain Jim Sepp, admitting he lied in his report to fire her by failing to interview witnesses, twisting quotes, and destroying notes from his own report.
Fire means that you did something wrong, and I know I didn't do anything wrong. I protected that kid. I did exactly as I'm trained to do.
The lawsuit alleges one of the officers before the arrest ordered all dash cams be turned off, but one of the cameras was left on, and the video would contradict what all the officers said in court.
This police dashcam video shows officers putting Joseph Sperling in handcuffs and violating, he says, his constitutional rights.
If it could happen to me, it could honestly happen to anybody, and I just happen to be one of the lucky few that has a video that proves that they were wrong.
The 5 officers involved in the June arrest, 2 from Glenview Police and 3 from Chicago, are now being investigated by the Cook County State's Attorney's Office for allegedly lying about how Sperling was arrested.
If the police want to make a case proving drug crimes, proving responsibility, they have to follow the law, and they can't lie.
The 5 officers all told the same story in court, that they pulled Sperling over for a traffic violation and that he agreed to a search.
According to them, they then took Joe to the back, searched the car with his permission, according to the police, whereupon they saw the drugs lying in plain view.
But the lawsuit alleges the officers were unaware of the Glenview Police dashcam video, which appears to show Sperling immediately being arrested before any search is performed.
In America, you have a right not to be searched unless the police have probable cause. They can't just walk up to you, arrest you, and say, hey, maybe you got drugs, maybe we'll find them.
Sperling admitted there were hidden drugs in his vehicle, but when the video came to light, Cook County Judge Catherine Habercorn dismissed the charges against him, saying at a hearing last month, all officers lied on the stand today. The evidence that's been submitted is directly contrary to their testimony.
We were not able to reach anyone at Glenview Police tonight for comment on the lawsuit, but the department has said its 2 officers that were involved in the arrest are on paid administrative leave pending the state's attorney's investigation.
In June of 2008, the Omni Drug Task Force, headed by Lieutenant Davis, executed a search warrant on Rudy Simpson's Monroe County home. They based the search on an anonymous tip and a marijuana stem they said they found in the garbage. When the cops came in, Rudy's band was practicing in this basement recording studio. What the police didn't know is that the microphones were hot and everything was being recorded. Take a listen.
Hope they're not mixing.
But they were mixing, and 2 cops take turns singing on the mic, not knowing the whole thing is being recorded.
I love rock and roll. Looking back on the memory.
They found a quarter ounce of marijuana, 12 small seedlings in a pot they claimed were marijuana, and a half a pain pill that Rudy later produced a prescription for. These guys say the police seemed more interested in Rudy's stuff than they were in the drugs they found.
Basically, what I heard them talking about was what equipment, what materialistic stuff could they take out of my house. It seems like, yeah, that they were just trying to figure out what they could come out of here with.
And now, hear it for yourself. Caught on the band's equipment that the cops don't know was recording.
Well, who comes down here and don't want to take everything? Band, you're going to say that quarter ounce, at least a quarter ounce there is going to give us a chance to take all this stuff and go according to Luke.
Hey, what do you want to take in the basement? You want to take the drums and all that or no?
The police wound up taking 3 pages worth of stuff from the house, including some of Rudy's personal property, a 52-inch flat-screen TV, a DVD player, 2 computers, a camera, and a bunch of DVDs. Under the law, police are only supposed to confiscate property that was purchased with money earned from drug sales. Rudy admits he was smoking pot, but what evidence did they have that he was selling drugs?
There was none. There was no sales. There was no undercover cops.
In Michigan, in a drug raid, they can take your property just with probable cause. And they can even take your property without charging you with a crime.
A body camera captured the moment Megan Sheehan was taken down by BART and Oakland police officers March 17th, St. Patrick's Day last year. This is what the bartender model looked like when she fell to the ground. And here, at the hospital the next day. An Oakland cop grabs her right hand while the BART officer takes her left hand, and they throw her down face first. According to the police report, Sheehan was violently punching and that the officer guided her to the ground. Sheehan and her lawyer dispute that. Take another look at the video. Sheehan was lying unconscious in a pool of blood.
Megan, can you hear me?
Nurses were called. She was treated and taken to the hospital.
Former Windermere police chief is found guilty of perjury in connection with a child sex abuse investigation.
Yeah, Daniel Saylor was sentenced to 8 years behind bars after he was convicted of lying under oath during his friend's trial. That friend was later convicted of raping 2 young girls.
Daniel Saylor dropped his head when he heard the guilty verdict. It was role reversal. Windermere's former chief of police was the man being fingerprinted and handcuffed. Sentencing came next. Saylor begged for mercy. His voice trembled.
Don't really know what to say to you. I don't know what to say to you, Honors. Please have mercy on me.
But the judge gave him 8 years in prison as he left the courtroom, telling his mom and dad he loved them, and marked the end of his brief trial, a trial in which Saylor was accused of lying on the stand during the child rape trial of Scott Bush last year. Bush and Saylor were friends. During the rape trial, Saylor took the stand, told the jury not one but 2 outside agencies, the Orange County Sheriff's Office and the State Attorney's Office, investigated the rape allegations. Employees for both agencies took the stand, said they did not investigate, that it was Windermere's case. Saylor's family left with nothing to say.
6 Philadelphia police officers now face decades behind bars in what officials there are calling one of the worst corruption cases in decades. Mind you, this is Philadelphia. They seem to know a little bit about corruption there. Here are the pictures of the 6 cops, and what they're accused of is unbelievable. All 6 either current or former narcotics officers. Over the years, the feds say they stole more than $500,000 in drugs and cash and other stuff from suspects. But that's really just the beginning. Investigators say these men often beat and kidnapped suspects. In one incident, investigators say an officer dangled a man over the edge of an 18th-story balcony to get information. At the same time, they say another officer or other officers stole a few $1,000 worth of stuff from the guy's place and ordered a pizza to pass the time. The feds say the officers even came up with a game in which they scored points by coming up with ways for defendants to be abused. The list goes on and on. Here's how the police commissioner reacted today.
I can say that I've been a police officer for more than 40 years, and this is one of the worst cases of corruption that I have ever heard.
One of the worst they've ever heard. Again, we're talking Philly. The city is zero stranger to police corruption. In fact, a former officer who pleaded guilty to stealing from a drug dealer a few months ago is now helping with this investigation.